All right, screw the preview page, everyone. We're going live. 2 minutes and some change. Cincinnati's down. What are we down? 6 or 7 at this point, Houdini? Either way, it feels like a mountain to climb.
Yeah, I think it's 7. Yeah, 64-57, 2:12 left.
213. It's felt a lot like at this point, not TCU, I guess, but Oklahoma felt a lot like this. Xavier, at some stretches, felt like this. Like Cincinnati never goes down without a fight, but they've never really felt like they were going to win this game. First half, there were some moments where it was like, damn, we may be able to compete with Kansas. Kansas would go up by 3. They'd go up by 4. Cincinnati would cut it down to 1. Kansas would hit a big shot to rebuttal. Just never really that moment in the second half that got us over the stretch. But here we go, 2:12 to go. Kansas ball. They hit a shot here. It's probably over. And you're about 2 seconds in front of me, so I'll be able to tell by your reaction.
Uh, that's about as bad as it gets.
And
Yeah,
that'll
that,
do it.
that might have
Cincinnati's
sealed.
down 10 points. Hop in the chat room and let's vent. We can start a show because this game is over. Cincinnati goes 2-4, and I'd love to reverse jinx them here. I did it all the time. I mean, I reverse jinxed the hell out of us in the Nevada game, saying Nevada was a joke. And then Nevada woke up and kicked our asses down the stretch. Day Thomas hits a shot.
We just got to steal and a dunk. 6
Oh,
point
baby.
game.
Newman. 6-point game, 90 seconds left. The reverse jinx, baby. We stink. We stink. You're about 5 seconds ahead of me, dude. I don't like that reaction.
We probably need to bite the bullet and do a Spectrum and just actually pay for cable again.
Yeah, I'm on Fubo. Welcome to the chat, everyone. We'll get the show started as soon as the buzzer sounds. Get that steal.
Oh, get the ball out of your hands, Aziz. There you go.
Okay, Aziz, board. Okay. Why don't you put it back like 10 seconds so we're on the same page? Day. This team's not good at shooting, are they, man? Through the first, 7, 8 games after Georgia Tech, the numbers said that we were one of the most efficient scoring teams in the country. This team's gross, man.
I mean, Jay Billis was saying it all game. Like, he's like, I don't even know how UC's within striking distance because, like, nobody does. Every game, they are just terrible, but they fight. They're scrappy. But, like, for the love of God, put the ball in the hoop, man.
Yeah, I mean, comeback cats is our first topic with the question mark. It's going to be, cats scratch back late. Cats claw back. That's what they've been doing all year, but got to finish one of these games. No moral losses. 40 seconds left. Kansas going to the line, up 6. Cincinnati had some chances, man. They got open looks throughout. I know what Jay Billis said. He said that Simas Lukosius was taking tough shots all game. I thought Simas had 4 or 5 he should have hit. Maybe it's a different outcome, but this is who the Bearcats are. They're a very, very horrendous shooting team right now. Am I wrong with that take?
No, you're not wrong at all. They can't. Oh, now I just pulled up our YouTube page. I was getting confused. They can't hit a shot to save their lives, dude. Seamus couldn't do any. I mean, that was really, really tough on him. One of those nights where it's like you could tell his confidence was gone. Still firing a couple off, but it was brutal. I mean, we shot what? What are the final numbers? We'll see here in a second. From 3, it had to have been 15% at Kansas. Good luck.
Yeah, and they fought until the very end. Johnny Furphy goes off for 20 points for Kansas. May even had more with some free throws down the stretch. Who the hell's Johnny Furphy? I mean, I'm sure Kansas fans can enlighten me, but I just looked up the statistics. Averaged 6 points heading into this game. He was incredible. He was flying around everywhere. Double-double for our man Furphy.
Yeah, he was looking a little Skillings-esque minus, he was hitting threes left and right. Actually, Skillings had a couple threes as well. Australian. We need to get ourselves an Australian dead-eye shooter or just a dead-eye shooter, a guy that can shoot the ball at any efficiency at all. That's who we needed. CJ Frederick, please, God, come back to this roster. I think it's proven that we absolutely need him.
Yeah, I mean,
I actually saw him after the game. After the game, when I was, the old media pass, he looked like he was walking fine. I was about to just
okay.
grab him and be like, "Buddy, why get on the floor, man? What's going on?
That's a
Too many
big J
details."
report. That's a big J report from
I
Houdini
know.
right there.
I
The
know.
boots off. CJ's walking fine. Still a ball game. 34 seconds to go. Kansas has it up 6. Turnover, you got a shot. Kansas is in the double bonus the rest of the way. Break the press, foul, free throws. Kansas is going to hit their free throws. That's going to do it. Here's the good news, man. This team's not bad, A. They're not good, but they're not bad. Their defense is going to allow them to sneak a few games out. And you didn't expect to win at Kansas. You didn't expect to win at Baylor. Quite frankly, you didn't expect to win at BYU. You expected through this 6-game gauntlet, which was Cincinnati's toughest 6-game stretch pretty much of all time, you expected them to go probably 2-4. And you expected the 2-4 to be a lot uglier than this. I mean, you said Kansas, when we lost to Dayton, we may lose by 25 at Kansas. They're down 6 with 29 seconds to go, and quite frankly, they've shot horrifically. Could have been a different story if they put some layups in the basket, but at the same time, there's a reason why they didn't put layups in the basket. This isn't a one-off. This is who they are. This team doesn't make layups. I don't understand
it. Honestly, you're right, though. The start of this 6-game stretch, I think there's a lot of positives. No moral victories in the Big 12. But, yeah, the Oklahoma game hurts. Losing the Texas game at home, those are two that you should have when you're at Fifth Third Arena. But if the law of averages come back to earth, I mean, I refuse to believe this team is a 5 under 10% from 3. You know what I mean? It's almost impossible that they're in these games. I would think they're going to have a couple of nights where they get hot. At least I hope so. And then we can compete with anybody in the Big 12. And this is a loaded conference. It's the best conference in college basketball. So the ceiling for us, and they said it multiple times on the broadcast, we haven't had all our guys. We had one game, and it was against Dayton, and we got shelled. But injuries, the transfer thing, we got to get these guys playing together and then hopefully make some damn shots, right?
We had one game where it seemed like everyone was on at the same time, and that's going to be one of the topics on the show with the spin the roulette wheel. I mean, some days it's Day-Day, some days it's CMOS. You saw what Dan did in his last game with 1 point. Then today he comes out and he's one of the best players on the floor for the first 25 minutes or so. Jizzle James has his moments. Jameel Reynolds has gone off a few times. Locken has been so consistent. He's vanished the last couple of games. Same with Newman, but he picked it up late and at least had 9 points in this game. But Georgia Tech was the one game where it seemed like everyone was clicking at the same time. 1 through 5, they were knocking down shots. They were making layups. They were finishing. But since then, and it's nice because someone steps up every game. Consistently, there's at least one guy for UC that plays great. But can we get like 4? I mean, CMOS, where were you at tonight? Final number for CMOS, because he's on the bench right now. 1 of 9, 0 of 6 from 3. That's not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. We got someone in the chat right now saying CMOS is a failure. Not him as a human being, but the CMOS Lukosius experiment is a failure. I don't know if I'd go that far, considering 3 games ago, against Texas or BYU, I think it was, we said that he was the surgical man. He was the one that should have the ball in his hands. But if he's not making shots with his defense, he's a liability on the floor.
Yeah, I've been fooled multiple times during this season, this stretch. It's so bizarre game to game. Like, Seamus looked so good in a few of those games. He looked solid against Oklahoma. He ended up missing some shots at the end, trying to heave it up and get back in the game. But, yeah, he was brutal tonight. And you're right. Locken was nowhere to be found either. We need more than one guy to show up on the road at Kansas, right? The fact
and I think we need more Dan Skillings.
Left is shocking.
Yeah, I think we need more Dan Skillings. I think you insert him in the starting lineup starting next game. I don't care if CMOS takes a spot on the bench, but Dan's got to be in the starting lineup. And forget the starting lineup. It's who finishes, and Dan's in the game right now. But I think you get him out there on the floor right away to set a little bit of a tone. Him and Newman out there at the same time. But then, there's no pretty lineup for this team. We talked all year about how their depth is something that makes this team good. Like 1 through 9, they have a bunch of different players that can step up. But at the same time, regardless of the rotations Wes is throwing at you, never seems like there's multiple guys on the floor that's like, all right, get them the ball. I've been saying it's Jizzle James a lot of games. Jizzle James did not look like he could create his own shot today. And he played all right. The numbers weren't horrible. Had a few bad turnovers, but he was 3 of 6 from the floor. Knocked down his only free throws. I mentioned he had 8 points. Did have 3 turnovers, but I mean, whether it's Bandega, Locken, Newman, and Reed on the floor at the same time, or even if you throw Lukosius in there, if he's not making shots, it's like, who do you put the ball in their hands to make a play down the stretch? Where is our Evans, our Kilpatrick, our David DeJulius, our Leonard Nolly, our anyone that can create their own shot? And the answer is it's Dan Skillings when he's on. But you saw in the second half what happened with Dan Skillings after, 14 points in the first half. He was nowhere to be found in the second half. He finishes with just 16, which, good number for Dan. But after he was, lighting it up with 6 minutes to go in the first half at 12 or 14 points, he fizzled down the stretch. And when he fizzled, you looked out on the floor and you're like, all right, who's really going to score enough points here to take down Kansas? Because the defense did their job, holding Kansas to 72 with 15 seconds to go. I mean, what more can you ask for?
No, it's pretty much over. 67-72. Let's see a miracle happen. I saw Tracy McGrady have 13 points in like 4 seconds. You never know. Yeah, but you're right, Chuck. We saw the offensive just lag. So for a stretch of like 7 minutes in the second half, I don't think we had a field goal. We were just passing around the perimeter, and I was just thinking, I'm like, God, it would kill to have a guy like David DeJulius or like a veteran point guard on this team. Day was fine. Day played well. I mean, he might be the second guy. I mean, I don't know if you're necessarily wanting like an isolation for Skillings when you need a bucket. He's more of a guy that likes to get it in transition, cut, things like that. Day can do the step backs, but I mean, how efficient is that? He's a little too small to get to the rim, as we've seen him miss quite a few layups along with the rest of the roster. So that's what they're gonna have to figure out. Somebody's gonna have to step up and kind of be the offensive go-to guy.
We got Wallet Heath, a new viewer in the chat room tonight. I think he's a Kansas fan, so I have a take for some of the Kansas fans out there that they're not gonna like. They're not gonna like it at all. That's on the Chatterbox Bearcats show today, the post-game show. Bearcats lose to Kansas. I'm saying it right now. Yes, it is final. Kirby's got it up, 74-69. We do these win or lose, and lately it's been a lot of losing in the same fashion. I mean, that's about, 4 losses in the Big 12 by 5 points or less, and a lot of them have felt this same exact way. Little less fight from the Bearcats down the stretch in this one, but that's to be expected. It's Kansas. Again, Chatterbox Bearcats, Chuck and Houdini. Let's talk about it. That is not what we wanted. Chatterbox Bearcats with Chuck and Houdini. Let's talk about it, folks. Let's talk about it.
You said what?
And I did that on purpose, Houdini. You notice the music wasn't going there. You don't play music after a loss like that. That's not what you do. We're not about it. This is actually what I was going to play had we beat Kansas in this game, because I wanted to talk some trash to the Kansas fans. And unfortunately, what happens is when you do these streaming with the stream deck right here, for anyone that wants to notice, you get all these buttons, and it's like a little shortcut on the keyboard. And you click on them. We had a little malfunction before the show, which we always do. And instead of the Chatterbox Bearcats Open that was supposed to play, this is what was playing when I clicked on that button that was supposed to play the show. And unfortunately, it backfired completely.
The media said Joe Biden's president. Ha 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 ha.
I didn't want that first part in there. I just wanted the laughing. Anyways, Bearcats aren't laughing. Let's start the audio podcast for the morning. Welcome to Chatterbox Bearcats, everyone. Chuck and Houdini with you. Final score from Lawrence, Kansas. Number 7, Kansas 74, and the Cincinnati Bearcats 69. Bearcats fall to 2-4 in the Big 12. Houdini, turnovers in the first half, missed layups throughout, wide open threes that don't go down. This is the Bearcats' identity right now. Scrappy enough to hang around. They don't hit enough shots to close out anyone.
I know. We're not doing rocket science here. It's like you got to put the ball in the damn hoop if you want to win. We shot 16% from 3. 3 of 18, and we lost by 5 points at Kansas. Turned the ball over like crazy. It's shocking how good this team can be if they can just stop playing so sloppy. It's such a I don't remember the last time I've seen a team that was so bizarre. Just watching them, I'm like, I don't understand how this is even happening. Like, a lot of the teams that Mick had, it was like, listen, they're just not very good. They're scrappy. They do what they can, but they're not very good. They're competing against they lost, 4 Big 12 games by a combined of like 10 points. Pretty difficult to do. They're all ranked opponents, so the ceiling is there. Can we put it together? Can we have, like we were saying pregame, one guy actually play, more than one guy play well in a single game? So it's tough, but no moral victories. But I'm counting this one slightly as a moral victory if we can figure out to put the ball in the damn hoop.
All right. We have Wallet Heath in the chat room, and I don't like to do this to Kansas fans, with this being the first time that they've played in a very long time. And Cincinnati held the edge before this game. I think it's now tied up 4-4 in the all-time series. This is with all due respect, because the Phog's an incredible place to play. Kansas has a wonderful fan base and a very prestigious basketball program. But this is facts. The Phog is a shithole. That place is a dump, is it not? I saw pictures of it, and I've never really noticed, just because you watch it on TV and you don't really think about it. But when you see like the sky view from some of the Bearcats media in the upper deck, and they have the full pan of the arena, it's not nice by any means. I mean, that's the only takeaway from this one, aside from the fact that place is electric. Kansas has a great fan base, so kudos everything Kansas, but I'm going to stand on something here, and that take I'm going to stand on is that the Phog is a piece of shit. I mean, it's UD Arena minus about $60 million worth of renovations.
Yeah, well, that I like Kansas Stadium, Allen Field. It's old school. They didn't want to make it, like an urban, gentrified bullshit. So I don't necessarily hate. I mean, I don't know about Wallet Health coming at us. What the hell is Wallet Health? Is that like a failed silicon startup? I don't know what that is, but I'm glad to have you, Wallet Health. I don't know if they turned the ball over because they couldn't handle the environment. I mean, they were going, head-to-head all game. Could have went either way if we made a damn free throw. Or, excuse me, we actually made our free throws a damn 3. But I know Fetters is in the chat saying they don't look comfortable running their offense. That's the absolute truth. We need to figure something out to – I don't know, make it easier on some of our guys. I mean, Aziz catching the ball anywhere besides 2 feet from the rim is a disaster. So we got to figure something out with that. And, yeah, we got to get some type of offensive sets going, something to change up what we've been doing, because offensively we have struggled immensely. And it's almost insane to look at some of the numbers that we've put up so far.
We just going to have an entire show where we go at this Kansas fan in the chat room. He's saying that you've never been there. You don't understand the tradition. I just prefaced it by saying everything about Kansas is electric, but the stadium does need a little bit of a facelift. But at the same time, you know what? So does Cameron Indoor, and they're not going to do it. So that's that. History never dies, and it never gets gentrified. Cats played well on Hunter Dickinson. He only had 10 points in the game, but Furphy, man, 23, had 11 rebounds. He was the best player on the floor. Furphy was lighting up the Bearcats in this one. Best player for the Bearcats was Dan Skillings. Forget Dr. Jackal, man. It's Dr. Dan and Mr. Hyde right now. You have no idea what you're getting from Dan Skillings on a day-to-day basis. In the game against Oklahoma, he goes for 1 point. He's the most irrelevant player on the floor. I forgot he was even on the team for spurts of that game. He did so little. There were moments of this game today, and this may be a stretch, maybe a prisoner of the moment, but there were periods today where it seemed like he was NBA talent. You going to respond to that?
Did I lose? Oh, did I lose you, Charles? You're saying Dan Skillings? Yeah, I mean, I know Billis was mentioning it, that he didn't play organized basketball until ninth grade. Sometimes you could tell. Sometimes he gets a little sloppy in the lane, but his athleticism and length when he drives to the rim is certainly at an NBA level for being as young as he is and raw as he is. We just need to have him put it together for a stretch of games and not just one game here, one game there. The thing is, even when Dan's off offensively, his rebounding is outrageous. I know I was looking at some of the CBB analytic numbers. Our offensive rebounding rate, defensive rebounding rate with Skillings on the court is plus 30 compared to when he's off the court. So he always makes an impact. But as we can see, we need his offense because we're not getting offense from a lot of people. So we can't afford having Skillings with 1 or 4 points or something like that. And hopefully this is a step in the right direction because this is the biggest game, biggest environment we played in all year, and he looked great. The problem is when they can zero in on Skillings, as the only offensive threat, he's going to struggle, right? And that's what he did in the second half. So we need other guys to step up too. And Seamus, we got to figure that out because those open threes that he was missing were brutal. Just a couple of those go in, this game's a completely different ball game.
Bearcats need one thing. You know who that is? One guy, not one thing. They need one guy. You know who that is?
Who is that? CJ Frederick?
I wasn't going to go that far. I was going to say Tyler Betsy, baby. And for those of you that follow the Bearcats closely but aren't on the recruiting trail, Tyler Betsy is I think the second or third best recruit in the modern era behind Jermaine Lawrence and maybe Yancey Gates. Maybe Lance Stevenson, rather. But he's up there in that, top 3 recruit of all time. And he's someone that's going to step in right away and be ready to contribute from day one. I know I said the same thing about Rayvon Griffith, but Betsy, different type of player, a little more size, a little more ability, it appears. Big body that can step out, stretch the floor, hit some shots. He's going to be a huge welcomed addition next year. But unfortunately, this year is this year. The time is now, and the losses are starting to roll in. Bearcats 2-4 in the Big 12. There are opportunities coming up. You have a home game with Central Florida and then a road game with West Virginia. 2 games that are very winnable. Are they gimmies? Absolutely not. I wouldn't even say Oklahoma State's a gimme for this Bearcats team, but absolutely winnable games to get you back to 4-4 in position to make a run. What is the biggest thing that this team needs to change? To me, it's figuring out the Bearcats roulette. Because too many times right now, they're trying to get it on red or black, and it's falling on the 0-0. It's falling on the 0-0. It's not going according to plans. And what I mean by that is just no one's stepping up at the same time. We talked about it in the pregame show. Victor Locken went 1 of 6 today. He played not well at all. Simas Lukosius went 1 of 9 in the game. Wasn't good. Then, meanwhile, you have Dan Skillings step up. He goes 6 of 14 for the floor. Newman plays well down the stretch with 11 points. Day Thomas was 5-11 from the floor with 11 points. So it's like Victor Locken plays a little bit better. Simas Lukosius, as you mentioned, hits 2 of those threes instead of missing all 6. And it may be a completely different game. Unfortunately, I think we've had a large enough sample size to realize that this is just who they are. For whatever reason, the roulette wheel keeps spinning and the ball keeps dropping on the green 0-0, and everyone loses because they need more than 2 guys to step up in a given game if this team wants to be really good. Best they've played all season was a game against Georgia Tech. Despite the competition, I think everyone can agree that's the most fluid they looked all season, and it was because 1 through they play 9 guys. 1 through 9, everyone was contributing in a big way. So I don't know how they're going to do it. This may just be who they are, but make some layups, get on the same page, have a couple guys step up at the same time. Please, just give me something to cheer about.
Yeah, I got to give them a little bit of credit today. 18 of 23 from the line. We were the 300th ranked free throw shooting team coming into this. And that's one thing. Maybe Wes actually had him practicing free throws this week, the last couple days at least. 78%, we'll take it. I mean, all that being said, with how atrocious they looked on offense and the 3-point percentage number at 16%, Jesus. If they just took care of the ball, 16 turnovers, I think they had 10 in the first half and it was tied. Take care of the ball. If we're going to miss every shot, let's try not to, turn the ball over and get them in transition. So I still think hopefully time will get this team gelling a little bit more. But we got to figure something out on offense. I wish I was genius enough to come up with it. I'm sure it looks like Wes is trying literally everything. He's throwing every guy to the damn rotation. We might see a walk-on here soon. I don't know. But we had our opportunities. We're not talking about impossible shots to make. We're talking wide-open threes, Day missing dunks. I mean, hell. It was let's work on just three feet from the rim, just dropping it in the basket. For the love of God.
For the love of God, as Dust in the Wind plays in the background. That's all we are. Dust in the wind. Cincinnati shoots it, if they shoot it, 45% on contested layups. And they're semi-contested. It's not like they're, driving into a pile of bricks and firing up garbage. Like, they're good looks for the most part. Locken had a few. Who else? Jamil definitely had a few. Skillings had a couple he missed. Newman missed a layup. There was one, Day Thomas missed the slam, got the offensive rebound, then followed up with a missed layup. I was pulling my hair out after that. I was like, are you kidding me? Finish around the rim. If this team just finished, 45% to 50% of their layups, they'd be ranked in the top 20, and that is not hyperbole. That is dead serious because they are not shooting above 25% on contested 4-footers. They're not.
No, you're right. And the chat's talking. We got Colton and Myers talking about our bigs. And they're not wrong as far as most of our bigs. Aziz is a 0 on offense, which hurts. Locken is always fading away from the rim. Jamil is like the only guy that just goes directly at the rim most of the time. Unfortunately, he loves to move his pivot foot. So he got dinged for a travel today. But we need to be a little bit more aggressive going towards the rim if we're looking at our bigs. Because, Locken just missing those dinks and dunks, and a lot of them is because he's fading away from the rim. But if you look at, Hunter Dickinson had 10 points. If you told me Hunter Dickinson was going for 10 and McCullough was 5 of 17 from the field, I would have thought we won the game. We lost by 5 somehow. The two best players were, pretty much contained the entire game. Dickinson didn't do shit. So back to the drawing board. This team's goal, I think, is to get to the tournament. That's totally doable. We're not anywhere far out from the tournament. We just got to win a couple of games, get a rhythm going. That was the toughest stretch of the schedule. At least we got that BYU win was huge. And then that TCU win, if that went the other way, it'd be dark times as a Cats fan. But we're still in good position, all right? We just got to frickin' close the damn game.
Our guy Dan Horde said on one of our shows, The Chatter, that Aziz Bandaogo was a pro and said this before the season began, probably like a week before we had him on for a little preview. He said, Aziz Bandaogo is a pro. Best finisher in a Bearcats uniform I've ever seen. That includes Kenyon Martin. May not be wrong about that. Aziz can flush it down. Do not get me wrong. Offensively, though, there were a couple lobs to him where he caught it 4 or 5 feet away from the basket. There was one where it looked like, first grade YMCA, where you just grab the ball and start running with it. And it's like, no, you gotta dribble. You're yelling to the 5-year-olds out on the floor. You gotta dribble. Come on, you're 5. That's what Aziz looked like at times. There was the half-court shot at the end of the half, which was hysterical. He shot-put that thing back to Clifton through an absolute laser beam. There were just a few bloopers that I jotted down in this game. Yeah, decapitated someone with that laser heave. Turnovers left and right. Defensively, I thought he was going to be better defensively, and I know he can block a lot of shots, but the weak side rebounding has been a struggle for him at times. I will say, one thing that Aziz brings to the table that I love, and I have to give him a lot of credit for, is everything in his sight when he, doesn't go for the block, miss it, and someone gets the weak side rebound, but when he, is boxing out down low, he grabs everything. He's got good hands, man. He's not weak with the ball. So give him credit there. This is a good rebounding team that grabbed 39 compared to Kansas's 28. That's why Cincinnati was in the game. Cincinnati just went on the road and manhandled Kansas. Now, I know they lost, Manhandled clearly means means something different in this example, and it means that they won by 11 on the glass. But yeah, that's why they were in this game. That's who this team is. Pretty good defensively, really good rebounding team. If they make some shots, they could be dangerous, but they're not a good shooting team. It's as simple as that. And they do have someone that's sitting on the bench with a hamstring injury that can come in and really give this team a jolt shooting-wise. Will it be a big enough jolt? Who knows? But again, I think Cats fans have been down and out long enough to where we just want to make the tournament, give ourselves a chance, and really have some positive momentum going into next year where Betsy and McKinley are out of the fold and Rayvon Griffith is out of the fold, and you really lose no one. You lose who do they lose after this year? They lose Odie. They lose
Newman.
It was one other guy, right? Newman and Odie.
Newman.
Yeah.
Yep. John Newman and the Aziz. I love Aziz. Like, I think Aziz just affects the offense so much just with his ability, his potential to block shots that a lot of teams, we saw TCU could not figure it out, just throwing terrible layups at the rim. So I like Aziz, but yeah, I was expecting a little bit more because when he played us last year in the NIT, I was like, this guy can do it all. Like, he was all over the damn place. Now I know like Keeneland Dan was going nuts, Cronin's brother going nuts about Aziz on Twitter the other day. Like, this guy sucks, and people were throwing stats at him that they're actually better when he's on the floor. So hopefully we can kind of figure out where to hide him on offense a little bit better. The one possession where he had already turned it over in the corners because he had the ball, he just launched it to somebody else, and then he somehow got the ball back, and I, for a split second, thought he was Kevin Durant and tried to do a fadeaway on Dickinson from like 12 feet out and got rejected right back to him. I'm like, what in the hell is going on over here? Aziz, ease up, brother. Like, my goodness. So it was it's a lot of these guys. It's a roller coaster, man. Like Aziz, Day, you're like, holy hell, what is going on? Skillings, CMOS. It's like you don't know what you're getting any given game. So it's been entertaining, I guess, but frustrating as hell.
It's Bearcats roulette. That ball keeps landing on the damn 0-0. Cincinnati shot it very poorly, 39% from the floor, 3 of 18 from deep. That's 16%. Better from the charity stripe, as you mentioned, 18 of 23 for a total of 78%. They turned it over 16 times, 10 of those coming in the first half. But again, it's Bearcats roulette. Unfortunately, no three players step up at the exact same time, and I do not know if that is changing. One way to help it change is more flow within the offense, I would say. There was a play at some point. I didn't jot it down, but I do remember it. It was a design play maybe after a timeout or just off an inbounds play where the Bearcats hustled up the floor. They got it down baseline to someone and then immediately got it down low to lock in, and within 3 seconds, he, caught it back to the basket, turned around, had a little hook shot. That's what they need to do, man. They need to get the ball up the floor and score in transition, which they haven't done a great job of despite playing very fast. Too many times in transition, they try to make the extra pass and turn it over. Go up strong. Have you noticed this? A complete sidebar. Have the Bearcats had like one offensive foul in transition this entire season? Like, that's something that has always driven me crazy, is transition charges. When we're going up for the dunk or, fast break and one, and they call it the other way. I haven't seen it yet this year.
Are you saying, have I seen UC commit an offensive charge or the other team? Like,
UC.
Charge?
UC. I mean, both.
I mean, do you want us to commit offensive charges? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. Over the years, you see it nonstop.
I think Skillings had one like 6 games ago. It seems like a thing Skillings would do because he'll just, if he sees 4 guys back there, he'll just go right to the rim. I don't hate it. If we're shooting 12% from 3, I'd rather have Skillings just doing a circus layup. So, yeah, get the ball in transition. Clearly our half-court offense is a massive struggle as we watched for literally the 20 full minutes of the second half. It was brutal.
Yeah, I'm looking for answers off the bench. Josh Reed, no points in the game. Josh Reed dribbling the ball just seems like a liability. I mean, that thing's getting ready to go over his head at any second. Does not have handles. Reminds me a lot of Jermaine Sanders rather, for that reason. Just kind of a 3-and-D hustle sort of player, but not someone that you expect's going to turn a corner and put up any sort of points this year. Jizzle could be that guy. Played pretty well today, 8 points, but did have the 3 turnovers. Jameel, seems like there are some moments where he could take over down low, but like you said, the pivot foot doesn't finish enough around the basket. Some sloppy play here and there. Did have 1 turnover in the game. And then Skillings, he seems to be your go-to guy. Newman has some moments where he can score the basketball, but doesn't really create, does it in transition with a lot of finishes, off turnovers, that sort of thing. Was 0 of 1 shooting the 3 ball today. And then Locken, 1 of 6. If he's not scoring, where do you go with the basketball? Seamas is probably the best guy on the entire team at creating for others and for, creating decent looks for himself. I know Jay Billis said that he had a hard time getting off looks in the game. Second half, absolutely. But of those 9 shots he took, I thought 6 or 7 of them were pretty clean looks that a 36% three-point shooter should knock down pretty consistently and not miss all 6. I don't know about you. I didn't think he was firing up 4 shots.
No, I thought he got great looks. And then, like I said, his confidence just went in the shitter after he missed the first few of them, and then it was just all downhill.
He missed 2 in a row in a span of 5 seconds, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was tough sledding, man. It was a brutal game for him. The thing is, like I was saying in the group chat, is like you can't play Seamas. The problem is he's our best three-point shooter statistically, minus, I think Josh Reed might be shooting 40% because he shoots like 3 every 3 weeks. You kind of have to play him. Obviously, in this game, maybe pull him earlier because he missed 8 in a row. But the problem is he's our best three-point shooter. Where else are we going? We need somebody to knock down shots. The one lineup that I could see him maybe flirting with would be Jizzle and Day-Day at the same time. I know he's probably doesn't love the idea of being that small up front, but that's the one thing I haven't seen serious minutes at is those two playing together. And they're both kind of semi-creators. Day-Day, obviously. Jizzle was bullying people for a couple moments of the game. So that's the one thing that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, Jizzle, Day-Day, Newman, Skillings, and then your 5 with Locken down low is the lineup that I agree. I think they should flirt with it. I don't see why not, because the 2 big lineup, we've seen what they can do. At moments, they look pretty good defensively. And Bandego grabs rebounds like crazy. He had 11 in the game to go along with his 6 points, but he turned it over 4 times, and the offense gets a little – it stalls, right? It stalls when both those guys are on the floor. Not nearly as much movement as when you have the 4 guards in there, which I don't think we've seen nearly enough. But, I mean, what do you do? We're not coaching here. Wes pulls the strings. He makes the decisions, and it's been pretty clear for the majority of the year that this is how he wants to play with 2 bigs down low, and it's led to a 2-4 record in the Big 12. With that being said, the report card on the Bearcats' first 6 games in the Big 12 Conference, we talked about how before this slate began, it was the hardest stretch in history, at least for the Bearcats, and I don't think that's wrong. Hardest 6-game stretch in team history. We said 2-4 would be pretty decent. They went 2-4. They looked competitive in all 6 games instead of some blowouts sprinkled in there. I would have hoped they protected their home floor better and not lost, 2 or 3. But aside from that, there's not too many complaints. Bearcats are on the rise. They're coming. I'll say it again. Tyler Betsy, folks. Watch this guy's highlight tape. Tyler Betsy can play. This team's on the rise. They're only going to get better. But, again, down the stretch, not enough scoring. Not enough playmakers. Spin the roulette wheel to who's going to step up. And unfortunately, you're not going to have multiple guys at the same time because they just don't have that sort of offensive talent. That's my takeaway.
Relax, Chuck. We lost to Kansas at Kansas by 5. Okay, I'm not claiming the season's over and we'll never be able to figure this out. Still a long season ahead of us.
Putting words in my mouth, Houdini. Putting words in my mouth. All I'm going to say is you've been waiting to pop champagne since the Xavier game, and we still have not had that moment to pop it. Told you should have done it for TCU. I get it. It was a weeknight. However, you had it on ice tonight, and you were going to pop it, so that's a cop-out. But you got to start winning some of these games, man. There's no moral victories. I think they've shown us enough to where we expect this team to win some games and make the NCAA tournament. We did not expect them to beat Kansas, but when you lose home games to Oklahoma and Texas, sometimes you got to sneak one out on the road, especially, like you mentioned, when the other team's best two players combine for what?
McCullough ended up having 20, I believe, but he was
5 of 17. It was a quiet 20.
Late. Yeah, we did it exactly what we needed to do on him. But Trace was right. Hunter Dickinson was in foul trouble, and we never capitalized. For whatever reason, we were missing bunnies in the paint. Obviously, I think our best offense when we get stagnant like that might be getting the ball down, even though Victor Locken wasn't doing it, him or Jameel, to throw up, because Jameel could battle with these guys, and Victor was battling too. Unfortunately, he plays a little soft at the rim. But we got to figure out something with this offense because it is quite disgusting to watch. And, that champagne might expire at some point. I need to pop it, so can we get a damn win here soon? A ranked win on the road? I should have popped it for BYU.
Yeah, well, we're not popping it. Well, you couldn't have popped it for BYU because you were in Fort Wayne, Indiana in an Uber. But
True.
You're not going to be popping it for UCF. You're not going to be popping it for West Virginia. That's Cincinnati's next two games. No such thing as a must-win at this point in the season. But, it's a must-win. Central Florida at home is a must-win. Cincinnati loses that game, it's goodbye NCAA tournament most likely. And I know it's tough to say that 7 games in when you have another 6 or 7 ranked opponents on the schedule. And UCF wouldn't even be that bad of a loss. But you start schedule hunting. You go down and look at some of these teams they're playing. And how do you find those 8 wins? Because that's the number that could get you in. 9, I think for sure gets you in the best conference in history, I think. But you look.
You can't lose to UCF at home. Simple as that.
UCF at home, there's 3 potentially. At West Virginia, there's potentially 4. Then you got at Texas Tech. Then you have Houston at home. Then you have Iowa State. Maybe you can sneak one out against the Cyclones. Then at UCF. Then it's Oklahoma State at home. There could potentially be 6. At TCU, at Houston, Kansas State at home, maybe 7. Then at Oklahoma, West Virginia at home. Maybe that West Virginia game is 8. And that at Oklahoma game, they could sneak one out or win one of those home games against either, Houston or one of the better teams that come to Fifth Third Arena. But in order to get to that 8 or 9 that I just mentioned, I accounted for 2 wins, UCF and West Virginia. You got to at least get 1, and that 1 has to be the home win against Central Florida. You got to protect your home floor. 3 losses in their last 4 at Fifth Third Arena would be devastating. It would be unlike the Bearcats, and I think Wes Miller is going to have them ready to play. But who knows at this point, man? It's been a very tough season to predict. Dan Skillings goes for 1 point one game. The next game, he looks like the best player on the floor for the first half. So that's just life with the Cincinnati Bearcats in 2023, 2024. It's a roller coaster ride, man. It's a lot like the Son of Beast, It's fun, but at the end of it, you're going to have a massive headache, and you're kind of going to hate the experience as a whole. That's how I feel.
Yeah, Wes, I didn't get the gold pass to Kings Island. I was trying to watch basketball games, and that's not what I'm getting right now. It's been listen, like I said, I think we see a lot of good things, and we could seasons in front of us. We get these next 2. We're in great shape, man. We're in great shape, and I love this song too. Beautiful.
Plenty of time for the Bearcats. You're my boy, Blue! Chatterbox Bearcats, unfortunately, Houdini not popping the champagne as number 7 Kansas holds up the Bearcats 74-69. But once again, Bearcats cover. Bearcats are competitive. Cats are on the rise, folks. But one of these days, let's get some W's. UCF up next. That game is on Saturday. Tips off at 7 p.m. Eastern Time at Fifth Third Arena. It's the last night game at Fifth Third Arena of the season. So enjoy that. Houdini, I know you had courtside seats for the last game as a Big J. You got your media credential. What are the chances we see you patrolling the sidelines on Saturday at 7?
Saturday, I will actually be in Louisville, Kentucky. I'll be scouting out Kenny Payne in the Louisville Cardinals to see if we can get any offensive, sets from him at 1:00, and then I'll be doing the show remotely. So I will not be courtside. So hopefully they forgot who I was. They may or may not have banned me from returning. So will maybe see me in a couple weeks back at Fifth Third Arena, the next home game after that.
Enjoy the night, everyone.